Da, 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 da. Perfect.
Oh,
Sink
that's
or
wrong.
swim. Oh, we don't have a paid sponsorship. I don't know if you can show that.
Home Depot.
Getting free advertising from the Hoser
All
Hockey
right, there we
Show
go.
to Home Depot. They got to pay for
Home Depot's getting
exposure
some
on
free
our
one, not a
platform.
sponsor. As you know, we're
Not a
sponsored
sponsor.
by
Hey, but
a
we would
burger,
if they
Eat
want to.
Burger, Good Burger, food.
Good burger. Yeah, and if they want to sponsor us though, we're totally down. But
Oh, it
yeah,
disappeared
until
now. No, it's
Nope,
back.
no, it's back.
Yeah, if
why don't you
anyone wants,
just hold control and scroll and zoom in so it's cropped out, Just zoom in on the web
I
page and
can
just
just.
kind of
Oh
yeah.
boy. Well, this is the best I can do.
And this is the content that our subscribers look
They
forward
always
to.
want to learn about Home Depot.
They want
Anyways,
to see
That's what I
just
come
us
for.
struggle to pull up a web page
They
on
want to see us
YouTube.
struggle.
Oh.
Finland, we can see their roster here.
Top line.
Lehkonen, Barkov, Rantanen. Granlund, Hintz, Teravainen. Haula, Aho on third is weird, but it's all right. Line. Michelli, Lundell, Kako, and Luosterainen as the extra. One thing I noticed here, and I think this is really the only question I have about Finland, is this is someone who I excluded as well, but because I don't think I'd seen enough of them play, but there's also here, Jesperi Kotkaniemi excluded from the roster, and he's probably the only one out of the Finnish players that could be argued to make the team. And I'm curious if you guys would have him on the team.
Straight up,
Has
Line A is not going to be able to play, and even if he is, the Habs ain't letting him. So we can just ignore that. Line A is not playing in the Four Nations. It's just not going to happen.
I see that. I
Like
can
he's
understand that.
skating now and stuff, but like even then, like give the guy a chance to fucking warm up. Like he'll get exposed out there. Like just don't even let's not
Well,
go there.
we're
Like
talking
I
about
love
something
Line A. He's gonna be
4 months
back soon.
away, 3 months away. Like I feel like he has enough
Line
time to get back into
Maybe,
shape.
but I don't
Line
want to
is
put him on the
supposedly
roster until I've
ready
seen
around
him play, and
Christmas.
not only seen him play, but seen him play well enough and consistently, and not look like a little bit like he's rusty or like there's just like let's slow down, guys. I think not necessarily you guys, but on line A, like
Yeah.
I want to see him play a couple regular season games, not even a couple, like a week or two before I'm drawing him in on anything. Logan,
That's fair.
unfortunately, at the beginning of the season when I was really excited about Line A and I was telling you that, like, fuck you, this trade's gonna go great, whatever. Unfortunately, you did have a point that he does get injured and this is a problem. And lo and behold, it happened. And it's not necessarily someone's fault or whatever, but like it's a reality. And I think that
Hmm.
for now, if I am going, yes, I would put KK on that roster for sure. He's a really really good player. I think he gets overlooked because he plays for a really good team and he's not exceptionally
I
flashy
think I looked at it a bit
offensively.
more as well since I was considering this, and a huge part of it is Marty Nietzsche has been unreal, but
Hmm.
KK has been the center on that line, and has
For
also
sure.
like he's had a really good start to the season, and I
So
think it's
for
been
my change to
overlooked a
that
little bit.
roster, I'd pull Line, I'd move Lundell to the wing, and I'd throw KK in center on the fourth line there. And I
What
think
I would
that's
do
actually a
is
really good roster. But
I'd have
you
Aho
need
and
to have
Hintz.
KK on there. He can do defensive stuff that other players can't
Oh
do. He
yeah,
plays with Aho. You know what I mean? There's chemistry there. Uh I think he's just too
I would,
he just brings element and he's just so reliable and he's so like he doesn't really put you in bad positions on the ice. He's so
hmm,
coachable that I just don't see a reason that KK shouldn't at least be on the fourth line
yeah.
just
I
as
mean,
a guy that
especially
you can
if
roll out there on the penalty
If Line
kill
is
or
not
if
ready
you're
and
up in
doesn't
the
to
game.
make it, if Line is
Yeah,
injured, isn't ready, that's like an easy one.
for sure.
But
one
hypothetically,
thing
I see what you mean. How like you'd drop probably you'd probably drop one of Michelli or Kako just because
Uh,
Lester Island's also just a really responsible player on a fourth line role. I
oh,
know
for
personally I
sure.
would have Lundell third line, Aho up in the second line, and figure out like I'd
Yeah, I
probably
don't necessarily
swap.
love the way that these lines are balanced. I don't know that Michelli is good on a fourth line role. I think he'd be better maybe a
No,
little further up in the lineup where you can take advantage a little bit more of his offensive game.
I think so
Um,
too.
I think if you're gonna make a line with KK, you're gonna want to make like a shutdown kind of like fourth line where you can roll them out if you're up in a
Yeah,
game
like
or if
let's
you
say you
need to
had
shut down
Eric
a
Holla, Jesperi
McDavid. Like,
Kotkaniemi, Eetu
okay, KK
Luosterainen.
shouldn't be cut down. Forget I said that. You got Barkov, but anyways,
Well, no,
you
still,
get what I'm
I think
saying.
I understand what you're saying there. And also, I guess you say that you have Barkov. Let's say
You do
your
have
fourth
Barkov, so
centers, you have Barkov, Aho, Lundell, Kotkaniemi. Any of them you'd trust to shut down star players. Like all of them are
I
incredible
mean,
two-way
I don't
players.
know necessarily that we could say KK's a
Maybe not.
shutdown C,
Or
but
you can
he
trust them.
plays a pretty tight game and he doesn't play with a lot of risk. And you do need players like that. They're not the most exciting, they're not whatever, but coaches love them.
Mhm.
So yeah, honestly, I like Lecky, Barkov, Rantanen. That's a killer
I
first
love
line.
that. I'd probably
Hintz,
have
Teravainen, Granlund. Move
I'd want Aho up there with hints.
I might move Aho to the wing even. Put Lundell as third line center and
Yeah, Lundell
KK
third
as
line
fourth line
center.
center.
I
And then
consider
you could
putting
put Aho on
Luosterainen with
Hintz's wing
Lundell because they play together on a line for
for
Florida.
sure.
The only thing I would argue is who's better in the faceoff dot, and I think that's kind of they'll decide who goes where.
I think
For
that
sure.
doesn't really matter in this tournament because you can just put them in the face-off and then swap them as soon as the face-off's done, though, right?
Yeah, but it's just you could do, but it's harder to kind of keep pace, especially in your defensive zone of where they play. If you're trying to
Mhm.
swap out immediately after
Yeah,
a face-off draw,
that could be why they've
it's
set
better
it up
to
this way.
have your face-off winner be your center in the own zone. Outside of it, if you're playing offensively, you can switch it. It's easier because you usually end up with possession. But
Yeah, I also don't love obviously like we said Line probably won't be on it, but Luosterainen is also a player that I think is very valuable to have on the team.
Hmm.
And I think I would take KK over him, but that's not a player that gets overlooked as just another guy who's just can kind of play any kind of game and is
Exactly.
just hard player. But
For me,
as far as
hypothetically,
this,
if Line A makes if is like healthy to make the team,
mhm,
that I would probably substitute out Matthias Michelli just because of the type of player he is, and I think that he wouldn't be able to crack the top six, and he wouldn't isn't as well suited for a bottom six role. You'd probably want
mhm,
to have KK over him.
yeah, for sure.
That'd
And
be
I
my
think
take
that
there.
um,
If Line
if,
8
if
doesn't make it, then that's the obvious. Like we just slot him in there, and there's no real
yeah,
argument.
I think if this tournament's also last year or something, I think probably Yoel Armia gets in over Kako. But
Yeah, I don't
Armia's
think he's been
season
good enough
hasn't
this
been
year.
great this
I
year.
looked at him as well, but wasn't feeling it.
But he's another guy though that like fucking great penalty killer, puck possession,
I think they got
strong
enough of that in this
on
team
the
already, though.
boards. Yeah, but
If there's
at the
one thing
same
this
time,
forward group can do, it's kill penalties.
what? So
exactly.
And also like
That's why I'm saying
Barkov,
like I
right, and then
just
score the lights
if it
out.
was last year's Yoel Armia, maybe, but what he's shown this season,
Probably. Like
I
Kako
think
doesn't make
that's
it
kind of
last
like
year.
yeah. So how about we move on to the
Yeah, let's move
defensemen
on. I'm gonna move
and the
on
goalies?
to the defense, but the defense is Lindell, Heiskanen, Valimaki,
Oh
Ristolainen,
man.
Mikkola, Jokiharju, and Mata. The only thing I would say is Valimaki has had a terrible start to the year. The thing is, they're so thin. The only possibility, Valimaki has had a bad start to the year, and Yanni Hakanpää has entered the lineup again in Toronto and started to play. I would consider this might I think this list was just released before those games, before he was cleared. I would consider taking out one of Valimaki or Mata and putting Hakanpää in, but that's minor things.
I would say Mata, but it's because
Probably Mata
Mata has less
upside.
consecutive good seasons
Who is
Yeah.
also
under his belt.
considered at the if you scroll down
Who
for
is
the
also
defenseman?
considered?
I want to see the cuts. Um
Um,
Yes.
Vakinen,
Urho
Sedov,
Vakanainen is the next
Niemela.
toughest cut. So like they're really thin on defense for Finland. Like the only one
That's
that would
tough.
slide in
Yeah.
there, like having Risto in there is you wouldn't want that, but you don't have an option.
No.
There's no one else.
I
Yeah,
think you
no.
move Risto down to the third. I honestly
Probably put
think Mikkola
Jokiharju higher.
should be I think Mikkola, Jokiharju, and
Mikkola has been unbelievable this year. I agree. I think
Honestly, if you
Mikkola should
just
be higher.
swapped Mikkola Jokiharju to the second pair and then
yeah,
swapped Mata with
Valimaki,
Hakanpää, I think then you're
Yeah.
fine.
so
There's not much to say there.
Yeah, I don't think you're fine. I still think this is the worst
Or
defensive core in the Four
oh yeah,
Nations, but
you're
I
not
mean,
fine.
it
I more
won't.
meant there's not much to discuss. Like there's no
Yeah.
alternate options.
Luckily, they're so strong defensively at forward that, like with guys like Barkov and stuff like and Hints and like they should be okay. But I really this oh man, this decor is pretty thin. Like, do any of these guys make any of the other teams? Like
No,
Heiskanen does
it's gonna
probably
maybe.
make some of the other teams, not all of them, but
Heiskanen probably makes any other team. He's that good.
yeah, at least as a third pair for
But no
sure.
one else makes any
But
other
I mean,
team.
like USA and Canada's decor, man. Like,
Heiskanen makes Team USA or Team Canada, no question. Like he's good enough for it. Yeah.
okay.
Oh
And
yeah,
goaltending?
Heiskanen. Goaltending as well. We got. Let's try to cut the ads
I
out
like
of
the
here as well because we're
I
not
like that.
sponsored. You
I like
got
those
UC
goaltenders.
Saros, Kevin Lankton, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
So it's basically last
Good.
year's
Yeah,
Predators
it's good.
team defense
And
It's
goaltenders,
basically with UPL in there as
and
well.
even though
Like
Saros
you
has been
see
Lankton's
some
mid,
been
but that's more the Preds than
Stars,
him.
and
like
even though
there's no
Lankton's
one
been
else
rough
as well.
too, like
Blomqvist and
it's
Annunen are the
just
other
been
ones.
Mhm.
like I think that's a good defensive goaltending pairing. I think that's a good goaltending tandem.
Yeah,
I
I
like
think
it a
it's
lot more
good.
than some of the other nations.
Look, you got Saros. Like
Saros is
realistically,
good,
you
good.
don't need the other two goaltenders playing
Yeah.
games if Saros is playing.
Well, and
If
if
Saros
he
is playing
doesn't,
well.
Lankinen has proven with the Canucks he can be good with
Yeah,
shitty
Lankinen is
defensemen.
really reliable. If Saros
With shitty
is
defensemen.
in
I
a
know last
terrible
couple
rut,
games,
Lankinen can be reliable, but
I see Dave
you, you look
disagreeing,
like I'm
but
looking there, and right now,
I
due to
think that's a
performance,
little bit more of a concern with how thin the decor is.
yeah, but
same. I look at this though, and
I
I'm
wouldn't
like,
say Canucks defense is
Lankinen,
as
all
bad
things considered,
as the
is probably going to be the third goalie by the time
Yeah,
they
but
get to the
also the
tournament. Like
Canucks are
Luukkonen's
going
going to
up
be playing
against
better than
NHL
him.
teams, not Four Nations All-Star teams, right? Like the quality
yeah,
of competition. Like when you think of Team USA or Team Canada's offense
but
against Team Finland's defense and
Oh
goaltending,
yeah,
like I look at a guy like Saros and I think like he's
he probably
just
can't
like yeah,
carry
he's
them.
good and he's been good. I just
Well, I mean,
hate
like
it,
I'm
but
looking at this here, and
he
I'm also
relies
like,
a lot on athleticism and stuff. And it's like when you have shooters like Matthews and McDavid and stuff, like that's just not
no.
like it can work against like the average like NHL team. And when you have teams that were as good historically as Nashville has been defensively, certainly not
Yeah,
this
because
year, dear Lord.
you asked that, and I want to
I
ask
don't
you,
know if
Dave.
Saros is like yes, you could definitely argue he's the best option for Team Finland. I'd agree with you, but I think that
I
he's
think they're
not being
still
put
in
in
a
a
real tough
position to
spot.
succeed behind that defenseman against the competition that he's going to be going, just because like you almost want just like a guy who just covers up so much of the net, the odds are the puck's going to hit him anyway. Then because like Saros
Yeah,
relies, he's a small guy and he's athletic, so he relies on reads. And when you're playing against the most elite offensive players, it's a lot harder to read what they're going to do.
well, I also
And when
consider
you
as
have an,
well.
UPL
You
would be
say that
better.
it you I don't I think that it's a moot point.
I
UPL is
don't
just a bit
know.
bigger, but
Yeah, like
you
I
talk
think
about
you're in tough
how it work
regardless.
they
Like you did
goaltenders can
say mention
carry.
Lankinen plays on a
Could I
shitty
ask?
Canucks defense, which is good, but I
Could
don't
I?
know. Still
I
lets in
wanted to
goals.
point out
Yes,
here,
James.
like you say that it can work against the average NHL team. I don't think that this defense, like you have a defense, sure. I honestly don't think this defense can get it done. Would get it done on an NHL contending team, let
No,
alone a four nation faceoff.
I think this is
Like this. If
basically
you look at I
the
don't
Canucks
think if you put
defense.
this
Honestly,
defense on a top team in the league, it would, I think, still struggle and the team would take a
yeah,
hit.
yeah, no,
Unless it's like Edmonton, whose defense is already shaky. So yeah,
I
I
think
agree with
that
you
if
that like
you,
I'd more
yeah,
say like there's when I say like, oh, we're good here, more man, there's no other options in net. Like this is what you're getting. There's no like, oh, who you could argue this person, like with Canada, how there's like a goaltending roulette. Whereas here it's just like, yep, these are the only options for Finland. Yikes.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of all what Finland's been like. They don't have a ton of options compared to the other three teams. They're kind
No,
of in a
not even
point where
close.
they're like, it sucks for us, but this is the best we could put out.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they're a good team. They have some high
Their offense
caliber
is amazing.
players, but
Their
it's
offense
just
is really
they just
good.
don't have the depth pool to actually
Yeah.
pull
I
good
will say
players
though,
out.
like they do make a good point if any one of those goalies like gets hot, like they can be really hot. So
Yeah, no,
they
Yeah, like
have
UPL
three. If
proved
they
that
just go
last
with the
year.
best
SARS has
guy, I
proved that
think
year in and year out.
just go with the hot hand, honestly, and
I
you
think
should be
Lankinen will
okay.
be the third goalie when you get to it
Hmm.
because of the ability that UPL and Saros have
I mean,
to just step up. UPL showed it last year. Like the
yeah,
second half of last season, he was unreal.
UPL. I mean, they can do it. Like, and I think
He
UPL
was
both,
like top
and
5 in save percentage last year after having a terrible start.
yeah, I mean, actually, all three of them both all have the experience of playing on a shitty defensive team. Like, they all play a team that can shit the bed.
Yeah.
So they do
Lankin
have
played
that
in Chicago
experience.
for a while.
And he plays with the
Hmm.
Canucks right now. And UPL
Yeah.
plays for Buffalo, and Saros plays for Nashville. Those three teams all shit the bed hard. So that's
Yeah.
something that they got kind of got going for them, is that they are able to play under those conditions,
Hmm.
and they can come out on top.
I
I
agree.
just hope that that forward group kind of carries them up a little bit.
That's what they have to hope. They need to rely on like their forward group scoring and the goaltending here. I just think that there's no way forward for them really. They're just like we'll see though. We'll see because you
Yeah.
never know.